Hey, everybody. This is Michael Kennedy. I'm a Modern Work Customer Success Manager from Austin, Texas, here in the United States. And I want to share with you how to use the content for Broadcast Hub. So this content that we have created and that we're giving to you for your campaigns, we've shared a little bit of this. And so we have the welcome section here. We have examples and tips for using the content. We have long form page templates that we've given you that you can create your own pages. We have the short form page templates, which are shorter pages with less content. And then we have the Teams one pagers. So these are ready to go one pagers that you're going to be able to use to create your own adaptive cards using Company Communicator. And what we've done is we've given you a 3 different grids that already have content in them for you to use in your Company Communicator messages. So what you have here is you have the feature itself, you have the adaptive card title, the image URL. This is an image that we have already shared in a public facing site so that you can use these images in your adaptive cards. We have the summary body text. We have the text that you will paste in for your call to action button. And then we have a column here for your call to action URL. So when one of your employees clicks on the call to action button, it's going to take them to this URL. And so what we need to do is we need to create these SharePoint pages using your SharePoint environment so that when someone clicks the link, clicks the button, it'll take them to your page. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to use this particular feature, captions and transcripts, and that's down here on slide 42, 41. And so this is our PowerPoint page. Now we laid these out in PowerPoint so that you can change this any way you want. You can take this box and make it a different color. You could replace this image. You can change any of the text, the header. Anything you want to do. Oftentimes on these pages, we'll have a learn more button. This will actually, in some cases, go to a Microsoft hosted video that goes into more depth on this capability. And so this button right here is going to be on the page, and you can change that, or you can remove it, or make any adaptations that you want. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to save this page as this slide as a PDF page. And so the way you save a single slide as a PDF is you go into, you click right here on the File menu, and then you'll go to Export, and then you're going to create a PDF. And I'm going to save this into my Office Hours 4 folder. And we're going to save it as a PDF. And what you're going to want to do is click here on Options, and you're going to pick Current Slide so that it'll make a one-page PDF of this particular slide. And so I'm going to click Publish. Now I actually already created this, so I'm just going to overwrite this page. Okay. All right, let me do that one more time. I have a little permissions challenge. So I'll go here and I'll create the PDF. Okay. There we go. I'll give it the right name. So what we suggest is naming these pages after the content section, so better experiences, and then the name of the page. Now you may choose to use underscores or dashes between your words instead of spaces. Modern SharePoint will fill those spaces in, so you won't end up with a strange looking URL with a bunch of percentage 20s in it. And then all you have to do is click here, click current slide, so it does a one-page export, like I said, and then we'll publish that. Okay, and since I already had it there, all right, we're kind of repeating myself here, but there's our single page. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go into our SharePoint environment. And so for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm actually going to use a environment that is inside of my Microsoft Teams, my SharePoint environment inside Microsoft Teams. And let me open up Teams here. Okay, and so let me pick my Teams, and we have a team site here. Okay, right here, we're going to use this Toso Life team site, and I'm going to go ahead and use this particular channel, Hybrid Work at Toso. Now, you may have a SharePoint environment that where it's a different SharePoint environment. I'm just doing this inside of Teams because it's just an easy way for me to get to SharePoint. And so let me get to my files area here, and I'm just going to say open in SharePoint. So when you are going to create a SharePoint page, you have three different options. The first option, which we don't really recommend, is just uploading the document itself, the PDF we created, and putting it as a document in a document library. The reason we really don't suggest that is that you're not going to get any page view analytics that are built into SharePoint if you just put it as a document. So what we suggest instead is we're going to actually create a page in the SharePoint environment, and we're going to add the content from the slide onto that page. So all we have to do is come here and go to New Page, and okay, right, okay. Let me open that up again. So we'll go to our files here. We'll go to open SharePoint. I was using the wrong identity. Okay, so we are back where we were. We talked about not using the PDFs. I'm going to go to the site content, and I'm going to create a new page. Okay, now what I can do is I can bring up my PowerPoint and just put it right here next to my page. And then up at the top, I'm just going to add a title. So I'll type Better Experiences Meeting Caption. Okay, so I've created the title here, and this title will be indexed. And then the easiest way to do this, and the shortest path to do this, is actually to add a web part here that is a file viewer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the document that I created from the PowerPoint, and I'm going to insert right down here at the bottom. And so what this is going to do is it's going to take the whole PDF, including the button, and it'll have the URL associated with the button, and it is going to paste that onto the page. And then I can click publish right here. And I can add navigation to the page. I can email about the page or post about it. I'm going to copy the address from this page. And then what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go right up here and I'm going to fill it in on my table next to my captions and transcripts. And so this is going to be the call to action URL link. Okay, so this page will now be live in SharePoint, and we'll have the ability to get analytics on this page. So this is the fastest and easiest option to create the page. However, it does have some downsides. So right now, this is really just a PDF that is showing on a page. So this text might not necessarily be indexed properly on the page. And so if you're wanting to use indexing, there's a second way that we can create a page. What we're going to do is we're going to come here, we're going to say new, and we're going to say page. I'm going to go with a blank page, and I'll write down here, click create page. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to use the same title. And so we'll say better experiences. And I'm just recreating this page in a different way. And so we're not going to, you wouldn't necessarily use both of these types of pages. And so I'm going to type in the full title, and I'll say Teams meeting captions. And just for the purposes of this example, I'll call this number 2 so we can differentiate between this page and the other. Now, the next thing that I can do is I can actually take the text itself from my slide, and I can cut and paste this into a SharePoint page. And it puts some extra gaps in there, so we'll clean those up. And then I'm going to want to create a second text section where I can put the text here. And the way we have this laid out on the PowerPoint is broken into a couple of different text areas. And so we will cut and paste these different text here. Get rid of those extra spaces that it inserts. Okay. Okay. Now, depending on what part of the world you're in, some of these words have alternative spellings. And so you might need to change some of the spelling. My local language on my PC is based on US English. And so we spell maximize with a Z, and we spell organization with a Z. So we'll go ahead and change those. And then with the SharePoint, you can go ahead and make this text bold. You can change the font. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to make this into a heading. So that way it's going to properly categorize that as a heading. And I'll go with my mobile and maximize caption accuracy. All of these are bold on my PowerPoint. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the image. Here we go. Okay, and I actually had already added that. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to show you, I'm going to upload this image. So we have these images stored. And so I'm going to have already saved it off. And so I'm just going to go ahead and bring that in. And I'll say to add that image. And it's going to add that image onto my page. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button. Okay, and I'll click here on the button, and I'm going to edit this button, and I'm going to type the label. And so the label is learn more, but Jace taught you last time, there's a little secret to get to all of these little emoticons that we like to use. And if you don't like those, you certainly don't have to. If you hold down the Windows key and the semicolon, then you'll get a list of all of these emoticons, and I'm going to match up what we have here and learn more. Let me get rid of my emoticons here. And then all you have to do is hover over the text on the button in the PowerPoint. You can right click on it and say copy the link. And then we'll put that link here on our page. Okay. And I'm going to put that button in the middle. So I'll click the button alignment in the middle here. Now, this isn't exactly a very pretty page, and so what I might want to do is come here and change the page. Let's see here. And I'm going to make this a 1/3 right. And so go ahead and close that. So now I have a column here on the right, and I'm going to take my image and I'm going to move it over here. Okay, and I can resize that if I want, but just for the examples of this, and again, you've got this comments, you can turn that comment on or leave it off. So now I have a nicely formatted web page. Now, I'm sure those of you who are actual web page designers are thinking that is not so nicely formatted, but you can knock yourself out. You can make this really beautiful, but for the purposes of this demo, then I'm just going to publish this page here. And so now I have the second page, but this page now has all of the text that's going to be indexed. It has my button as a standalone button, has my image as a standalone image. And so it's a more feature-rich way to get your content from the PowerPoint deck over into your SharePoint library. If you are not wanting to do it and you're wanting to use the more simple PDF version, or just saving this and taking the PDF and putting it onto a page, or just saving these PDFs into a document library, any way that you want to do it that's going to work best for your purposes, that is just fine. And so I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to go ahead and replace this URL that I put. I'm going to replace it with this URL from the new page that we created, because I do like using the actual pages. Okay, so now we have our URL, we have our page, and we are ready to go ahead and create our Company Communicator card using this new page. So let's go back over here to our Teams area, and we have installed the Company Communicator authoring experience into this team. And so I'm going to create a new message. Okay, so now all you need to do is we're going to get our adaptive card title. Oops, let's see, captions here. And I'll copy that and I'll paste it into the title. And then I'm going to take my URL, I copy the link. This is the adaptive card image. And you'll see as soon as I put this in here, it brings this image into my page. And then I'm going to copy my text. Now, when you paste this text over, keep a lookout. What I noticed is that sometimes it'll put in these little boxes where we have spaces, and so where we have returns. And so if you need to, just watch out for that, and then you can make this into a paragraph. Now, the author, you can choose whoever your author is going to be, whether this is your HR or your IT or whichever department inside your organization you want to make the author. So I'll just say TOSO Life Committee. Okay, here's our button title. Let's get our caps on. And here is the URL for our page that we just created. So this, when we click the button, is going to take us to our brand new SharePoint page. Okay, so I can save this as a draft. I can go ahead and send this out. So I'm going to send this to our Contoso test. Let's save that as a draft. And here it is. And as we've shown you before, to send a message, we'll just click send. It's going to give us an example to check our page one more time, make sure everything looks good. I think it looks great. And we'll click send. So in just a second here, we'll see that page come through into our test environment. There we go. And here's our brand new page. And if we click, let's get our caps on, is going to take us to our new SharePoint page that we created using all of the content from the Content for Broadcast Hub PowerPoint deck. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to answering your questions.